If you like fast cars and lots of action, we've got a good one for you today. We're going to Eldora Speedway to bring you the World of Outlaws National Challenge Series of sprint cars. You know, a sprint car is a very special type racing machine. It's designed to go very fast on a relatively small oval dirt track. Many of the sprint cars you'll be seeing today were manufactured right here at the Gambler Chassis Company in Hendersonville, Tennessee. During the race, I'll get a chance to take us inside to tour this unique sprint car manufacturing facility. I'm Ed Bruce, and along with me today to describe all the action, as always, my good friends Brock Yates and Steve Evans.
In this asphalt and concrete world we live in, it's interesting that America's most durable form of auto racing is done on the dirt. There are hundreds of dirt tracks flourishing across this country, running everything from go-karts to old jalopies. But the big league of dirt track racing is the World of Outlaws sprint car circuit. And the Yankee Stadium, Churchill Downs, the mecca of sprint car racing, is here in the tiny village of Rossburg, Ohio. It's called Eldora Speedway. And for a closer look at the track itself, let's go to Brock Yates.
Thanks, Steve. You're absolutely right about Eldora. It's a very difficult and a very unique place. And what makes it so? These banks behind me, they're almost 20 degrees. They're almost like a super speedway, except that they're made out of dirt. It produces very competitive racing. We'll see them run sometimes 3 abreast through these corners. And more than that, they're really going to smoke. They'll run over 120 miles an hour on this half mile. That's an extraordinary speed for a racetrack of this size. It's a place that the drivers have special feelings about, and Steve Evans and I both talked to some of them about it.
Well, the racetrack is, you know, it is a racer's racetrack. It's got maybe usually 2 or 3 lanes wide. There's plenty of room to pass. There's plenty of room to race, and you can run hard here, you know, and usually do it every time.
Well, it's just you keep your momentum up, and it's just such a fast track. You're going fast all the time. You don't shut down too much.
And you can get around that traffic when you have to.
Yeah, most time.
Shane, there seems to be something almost mystical about this Eldora track to the racers and the fans. It is considered to be one of the very best.
Yeah, the shape and the configuration of the bank, and the seating, the fans, the fact that we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're not close to any big cities, and they draw capacity crowds almost every time is, you know, evidence that it's, you know, one of the best tracks, dirt tracks for us.
From a driver's standpoint, what's the most challenging thing about this half mile at Eldora?
Well, later on, towards the end of the day, you'll see the cars start running up right up against the wall, and probably the biggest thing is they run, you know, right up against the wall 100 miles an hour plus, and that's the most challenging, just trying to run up there up against it without hitting it.
Well, that's exactly what happened to Randy Kinzer in an earlier event here at Eldora. Randy, the younger brother of champion Steve Kinzer, in that car number 5, tries to pass Ronnie Schumann in that car number 21 down low. As you can see, Kinzer is coming closer and closer to that dreaded concrete wall here at Rossburg.
Things happen almost before the driver realizes it here at Rossburg, Ohio. It's almost hand-to-hand combat. Kinzer in the center of your screen, car number 5, gets sideways, tags the wall with the rear. The front end comes around, also makes contact, and he is going to get upside down very quickly. At this point, the driver instinctively just tucks his head and hangs on. They use arm restraint straps to keep their arms inside the roll cage. A 5-point safety harness doing its job for Randy Kinzer. The huge airfoil device called the wing is crushed immediately. The front airfoil is gone. On the scene right after this crash with Randy Kinzer was Brock Yates.
Randy, looked like you just got up in the wall, huh? Yeah. Did somebody get wide on you, or are you trying to get around the outside?
No, I tried to go around the outside, and there's still some water laying up there, and I hit it.
Car's pretty well beat up, huh?
Oh, it didn't real bad. The wings and stuff's tore off, but it's front end, put it back under another wing, we'd be ready to go.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. This place is a little tough when you get up too high, huh?
Yeah, the wall comes up pretty quick.
Okay. Randy Kinzer, he'll be back. Car looks worse than it is, he says, so, or worse than it actually is, so who knows? Maybe they'll get it ready again.
Well, apparently Randy Kinzer was right. The car did look worse than it was, even though it happened just yesterday afternoon. Randy Kinzer is back with us today. This is qualifying run earlier to put him in the feature action.
Well, they make these cars very simple on purpose, Steve, to be able to be repaired quickly. They're really just a collection of very sophisticated tubes underneath that fiberglass body, so the old welding rod comes out, and they can fix these things up pretty quickly.
There's nothing really fragile about these machines other than the wings.
Exactly, and the wing is designed as we saw with Kinzer's crash, to absorb a lot of energy. So that roll cage plus the wing really is a safety factor here in the Outlaws. As we see warm-ups begin for the first event of the day, the Trophy Dash, the traditional sprint car kickoff for a series of races, generally 4 to 6 laps, usually the 4 quickest qualifiers.
We just saw one of the Trophy Dash competitors being pushed against the grain. That was Sammy Swindell. Even the best have problems here at Eldora. The World of Outlaws champion the past 2 years, the winner of almost $200,000, still finds Eldora quite a challenge. This happened just moments ago in the warm-up laps for the Trophy Dash. Sammy Swindell in the red #1 car, finding the track a bit slicker than he would like. There's been a lot of rain in the area. The track was very muddy, and the only way they could really salvage it, Brock, was to pack it very hard, almost like asphalt.
It looks like asphalt, but it's more like ice, Steve. It's just as slick as it can be up there. As Sammy Swindell gets restarted and joins the field for the Trophy Dash. 4 cars, 4 very quick cars. Up front, Swindell, Shane Carson in the number 12, and that orange car on the outside, Ronnie Schumann from Mesa, Arizona in the number 21 car, and behind him, the winningest driver of all time in outlaw racing, Steve Kinzer in the white number 11.
Steve Kinzer is closing in on the $750,000 mark in sprint car earnings. In fact, he won the first 3 World of Outlaws titles.
Well, he comes from a massive racing family in Indiana. Father is the chief mechanic on that automobile, and the Kinzer family is just legendary in sprint car racing. And Steve, known to be one of the bravest and most skillful drivers ever in American sprint car racing, as they come off turn 4 and head for the green flag.
Shane Carson takes advantage of his inside pole position to lead the Trophy Dash as they go into turn number 3. Already getting around Sammy Swindell is the orange car, number 21, Ron Schumann, and now it is Steve Kinzer going by Swindell.
Well, I think Sammy's heading for the pits. I would speculate that the chassis problems are such that cause a little spin in warm-ups or enough to just take him out of the race. He's going to go back and work on that chassis. This is race really more for honor than it is for the big bucks, Steve.
That's right, Brock, and also to do a little testing out there to get ready for the important competition to come. Ronnie Schumann, the orange, number 21, leading the Trophy Dash with Shane Carson and Steve Kinzer right behind him.
And Kinzer goes up high in that number 11 car, now dives down low, coming off at turn 2, and gets past Carson. That's a classic way to pass here at Eldora, Steve. Up high and then slingshot down off the corner to get by. As Schumann has a nice, comfortable lead with a white flag out, 1 lap left here in the Trophy Dash.
So Ronnie Schumann of Mesa, Arizona, headed into turn number 3, up against the wall, the way you've got to run here at Eldora if you're going to win it.
And win it he will, because Ronnie Schumann has too big a lead over Steve Kinzer as he comes down to take the checkered flag. Kinzer second, Shane Carson back in third, with Sammy Swindell a non-finisher. And we'll be back to talk with Ronnie Schumann and bring you more action from Eldora Speedway and the World of Outlaws following this. We're going to do it in the dirt again at Rossburg, Ohio, home of the famed Eldora Speedway, maybe the fastest half-mile dirt track in the world. As the World of Outlaws sprinters come out to begin the first heat, the warm-up laps of these 600 horsepower alcohol-burning Chevy-powered sprint cars with their famed wings. Some of the most spectacular racing in the world about to begin as Steve Evans is caught up with the winner of the Trophy Dash, Ronnie Schumann.
Well, Ron, the Trophy Dash gave you a few laps of much-needed practice.
Yeah, we really, we were good yesterday, but then this is a different racetrack, and we hooked the car up quite a bit harder for today, and we can even hook it up a little more now, I think.
So you're talking to your crew chief as soon as you got out. What changes did you ask him to make?
Well, I don't ask him. He asks me what he thinks, what I think, and we kind of confer, and then he does what he wants. We agreed with what he said, and he's going to do what he wanted to do anyway. I mean, it's a good deal, the way we have it.
Well, behind you, Steve Kinzer was driving the track very high. I mean, rubber on the wall almost.
Well, was he quicker than we were, or was he right there? Or?
Hard to say. He was trying different lines on the racetrack, but he was really launching hard up the corners way high.
Yeah, well, that's, the momentum. It's like being on the end of a string, and you can be fast up there if you can, if you don't have to slow down anywhere, where I can run, kind of through the middle and keep my momentum up all the way around. We'll see. That may be the place to be by the end of the day. I don't know.
All right, 11 Outlaws with their fingers on the trigger, ready to go for heat number 1. 11 World of Outlaws sprinters generally acknowledged to be the finest league of sprint car racing in the United States, the very best here today. In this particular event, we're going to see some of the slower qualifiers starting up front, the faster men at the back. In row 1, Mike Free and Mark Christman will lead it off on the pole position. In the outside pole, Mark Slade and Larry Helms. In that second row, row 3, Harry Garrett, Greg Staub. Row 4, Dave Fisher and Jeff Swindell, the younger brother of Sammy Swindell. Row 5, Danny Smith and Jack Haudenchild, a couple of the real young stars in this league. And bringing up the back, riding shotgun, Doug Wolfgang, one of the great all-time outlaws from the Midwest.
All right, we've got a green flag. The first heat race is underway. The incentive to do well here is to bypass any consolation racing and go right to the big money feature to come later. With an inverted start like this, a lot of the action is at the back of the pack as number 18, Doug Wolfgang, moves up into 7th. Number 4, Jack Haudenchild, now 5th. And 1A, Jeff Swindell in 6th spot.
Well, Larry Helms has got himself a very nice lead. He jumped clear of that jam up back there and has opened up about a 10-car length lead out front of that number 22 as we see Doug Wolfgang and Jack Haudenchild dueling, trying to get through the slower cars. They've got to get up front. If they don't, this man, Larry Helms, is going to get himself a giant lead with a clear track ahead.
Well, with only 10 laps of racing in this first heat event, there's no such thing as pacing. The guys at the back of the pack are going to have to make their move, and quickly. In fact, the race right now is for the 3rd spot. 1A, Jeff Swindell, 44X, Greg Staub, Jack Haudenchild, and Doug Wolfgang, all wanting that 3rd place position.
Well, they want to catch Larry Helms is what they want to do, Steve, and he's got himself an even wider lead now. So as we can see, Wolfgang in that number 18 car, one of the fastest cars in this league, still having problems with Haudenchild and Greg Staub in that orange number 44, but they finally slipped by. Haudenchild now leading Wolfgang up on the high groove.
And unbeknownst to our leader, number 22, Larry Helms, his advantage is diminishing as Mark Slade, in fact, right now surprises Jeff Swindell by repassing him to take 2nd spot.
And Larry Helms' lead is slowly being narrowed as the whole field starts to reel him in now, led by Slade, but Jack Haudenchild is very much in the hunt. In fact, he's passed Slade for 2nd place, and now Wolfgang is putting a move on Slade into 3rd. So Haudenchild is the man to watch now, and I'm sure that Larry Helms is feeling those footsteps behind him as Haudenchild, one of the real veterans here at this racetrack, considering his young age, is just about to put a move on the leader.
No question, Haudenchild in car number 4 is the quickest driver on this racetrack right now. In fact, he is going to take the lead away from Larry Helms. So Larry Helms, who enjoyed 8 or 9 laps of clean racing, now finds himself with quite a task trying to get around Jack Haudenchild. Haudenchild is really rocketing out there, Brock.
And he's on a roll because Doug Wolfgang has just dropped out in that number 18 car. And number 72, Mark Slade, has fallen back as well. So Haudenchild comes off turn 4, down for the checkered flag, takes his victory in a clear advantage over the 2nd place finisher, Larry Helms. A good, strong finish for Jack Haudenchild, the winner of this first heat here at Eldora.
And a popular win it is Jack Haudenchild from Millersburg, Ohio, the closest thing we've got to the hometown hero. So Haudenchild will head back to his pit area where the crew will be busy preparing this car for the feature race to come later on this afternoon. So with the inverted start, Jack Haudenchild had to come from the next to the last row to win this heat race and go directly to the feature. Down in the pit area with the winner is Brock Yates.
Jack, good strong drive in the first heat. Is she a little slick up there?
Yeah, it's a little bit slick. It's don't have too much of a cushion or nothing to lean against. It's starting to lay down quite a bit of rubber now, and the cars are starting to go a little better, I believe.
How about this headwind down the front chute and a tailwind down the back straight? Does that bother you at all?
Nah, you can't tell it too much.
Okay. You think the racetrack's going to get a little heavier as more heats are run?
No, I don't think it's going to change too much now. You know, I think it's pretty slick, and I think it'll just stay that way.
You like it like that?
Yeah, I like it like that.
All right, good job.
Thank you.
Now let's go to Steve with the 2nd place finisher, Larry Helms.
Well, Larry, anytime the Outlaws are in town and you can even get 2nd in a heat, you got to feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, we feel real good right now, but it might be a different story in the future, but we're going to try to keep up with them.
Is the track maybe getting a little greasy?
No, they're laying a lot of rubber down, and when they get a lot of it down, we can start getting a hold of the rubber.
So you think the track is actually going to improve through the heats?
No, it'll never get any better than what it is right now, really. When the track gets like this, the Outlaws slow down and start coming back to us guys a little bit, so we get a little bit of an advantage.
A little home court advantage.
Right.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Brock's with Doug Wolfgang, who had problems.
Charging hard, and then all of a sudden lost power. What happened?
I think the magneto shaft or the fuel pump drive broke, but I'm not sure. They're still looking at it.
Can you get it repaired?
Oh, I'm sure they can.
Okay, thanks.
When you run 50 races a year all over the country, as Doug Wolfgang and his crew do, a little mechanical problem is certainly not a major setback. We'll be back with more wild and woolly World of Outlaws sprint car racing right after this.
When it comes to sprint car racing, it doesn't get any better than this. The World of Outlaws from Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio, as we get ready for the second heat. We'll see 11 of these wing sprinters circulating this high bank half mile here at Eldora, one of the most famous racetracks in the United States, and a place where a special component of the Outlaw sprinter comes into effect, the wing. And Steve Evans took a look at that wing earlier.
The most visibly notable thing about the cars on the World of Outlaws circuit has got to be this, the huge wing or airfoil device that they carry. And it really serves a couple of purposes. Number one is handling. The downforce at speeds over 100 miles an hour glues the cars to the dirt, makes them handle better, enables them here at Eldora, for example, to run 2, 3, maybe even 4 abreast. But it also serves a safety function, and that's the most important part of the wing as far as the drivers are concerned. When a car flips, as they often do, unfortunately, in sprint car racing, the wing can act as kind of a stabilizer and keep the car from getting into a pinwheel effect, which can be very, very damaging to the driver. They're also a controversial piece of equipment. A lot of sanctioning bodies and even fans around the country don't much care for them, think that they're aesthetically wrong for the sprint car. But as far as the action we've seen so far here at Eldora, I like them.
Well, I'm sure Randy Kinzer would agree with you, Steve, because he dumped that car of his yesterday, and the wing absorbed so much of that energy that he was able to get it repaired without injury to himself or a lot of injury to the automobile. As the cars form up for this heat, we've got a bunch of interesting drivers in here. In addition to Randy Kinzer there in that 5X, we've got Jack Hewitt from the USAC circuit, Brad Doty, one of the fine young drivers from the Pennsylvania circuit. Eastern Pennsylvania, a very, very strong area for sprint car racing around Williams Grove. Some of the faster half miles there bring a very strong representation of Outlaws into this league. So as the pole sitter, number 44, Ken Rice, brings the field down for the green flag, Doty, Kaufman, Hewitt, all those guys in the back are going to be charging through this field as the green is out.
As the Outlaws are prone to do, they start long before they ever get to the green flag. Number 75, Keith Kaufman, takes the lead.
Kaufman, another Pennsylvania driver. Doty in that number 28 red car, down low. He's coming in very, very strong. Running very strong in the center of the racetrack. That race car is really handling, Steve.
Brad Doty is already around Keith Kaufman for the lead. Doty, who was voted the most improved driver last season, and you can certainly see why. A young guy, maybe the fastest rising star in this World of Outlaws circuit.
As Randy Kinzer runs low in the groove here with that repaired race car, but at the moment, it's Doty all alone in the lead. The car really hooked up. We saw him earlier pass Kaufman in the center of the racetrack, now up against the fence. That is the secret of running here at Eldora. If you can run high and low, Steve, and Doty at this particular moment is able to do that.
And free of any traffic, as Brad is right now, he has his choice of just about anywhere on this racetrack where he wants to run. And having some problems, still in the third spot, but slowing possibly, is Jack Hewitt.
Well, Jack is a stalwart from the United States Auto Club, a fine runner in that particular circuit. Came over here. This isn't his regular ride. Jack is a strong runner on the miles and the half miles, and certainly should have quit himself well here. But boy, the man to catch right now is Brad Doty. Just clear the field, clear sailing, pick any line he wants to at this point, while everybody else is kind of scrambling around trying to get by each other. Doty's just got himself an open racetrack, and there's nothing a driver likes to see better than just wide open spaces up ahead.
Well, Brad Doty may have gotten by number 75, Keith Kaufman, but nobody else has. He's still running second with Jack Hewitt in car number 63 behind him. And Randy Kinzer moving up right now, putting pressure on Hewitt, hoping to get that third spot from him.
So a couple of Pennsylvania drivers, Brad Doty and Keith Kaufman, dominate things here at this particular moment. It's interesting that sprint car racing is a national sport. A lot of it on the West Coast as we come up toward the last lap with Keith Kaufman still trying to put a little move on Brad Doty, but Doty has the race well in hand. These guys come from all over the country, East Coast, Midwest, and the Far West. Sprint car racing really a universal sport in the United States as Brad Doty takes the checkered.
And in the second spot is Keith Kaufman, car number 75. Jack Hewitt, even though he had some engine problems, still hangs on for third in car number 63.
So Brad Doty kicks his race car out of gear. These are direct drive automobiles, no transmissions in here, so he just kicks the dog clutch out of gear and floats it into the pits a winner as Keith Kaufman comes in as well, taking second place. Jack Hewitt third. Randy Kinzer fourth, and Canadian Tim G in fifth place. And Steve Evans has run down the winner for an interview.
Well, Brad Doty, you got to wish they were all that easy.
Yeah, I wish that would have been the feature. The car was really hooked up, but that don't mean anything. We've been really fast the last 2 days in our heat races, and we run sixth yesterday, and so maybe we can do a little better today.
Right, after 8 good laps out there, is the car telling you anything it wants done to it?
Well, we got an advantage right now. Everybody's having to run right on the fence, and we're stuck right through the middle of the racetrack. I talked to you earlier about the racetrack's getting black, and it's starting to get the rubber down, and we just got the right combination, I guess, so far, and it hit in the heat race. I'm still a little loose in 1 and 2. I got to run right on the fence there, but down here I can pretty much pass where I want to, so if it stays like that in the feature, we'll be all right, I think.
You know, the weather being what it is, we're lucky to be racing at all, but most of the outlaw drivers, the pros, would prefer a wetter, heavier track, wouldn't they?
Yeah, usually, like this place at night show is really rough and heavy, you know. But today, it's really not that bad. It's hard on tires. The car owner spends a lot of money for tires on a day like today. But it's really not very hard on equipment because it's so smooth, it's like running asphalt.
A storm came through here this morning that dropped an inch of rain on Rossburg, Ohio. But thanks to a gusty wind, the track is dried out and we're racing. Brock is with the second place finisher.
Old Doty had it pretty well hooked up, but he ran a pretty strong second. You going to make any changes?
Yeah, we'll have to change the car around a little bit and try to make it go a little faster, get a hold of the racetrack.
It's pretty slick out there, isn't it?
Yeah, the track's really hard, and it's just really hard to get a hold of it, so we're just going to try a couple of things, maybe it'll go better.
How about the wind? Was it bothering you at all?
No, the wind wasn't bothering me, just the racetrack's real hard.
Okay, well, let you get back to work.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's going to be a few minutes before racing resumes here at Eldora Speedway. So let's move over to Hendersonville, Tennessee, the Gambler Chassis Shop, and Ed Bruce.
This is a friend of mine, C.K. Spurlock. He's the owner and guiding force behind Gambler Chassis. Best known around Nashville probably as a music promoter, and most recently working with Kenny Rogers. C.K., how'd you get into racing business?
I started in drag racing, Ed, back when I was 16, 17 years old, and had a Chrysler sponsorship back in the early days. And 2 friends of mine on the West Coast got me interested in circle track racing.
Were they in sprint cars themselves?
They were in the sprint car business and the cam manufacturing business at that time.
Well, I was talking to your manager, Ken Jenkins, and he says there's an interesting story about this car.
This was our #1 car, Ed, the very first one we built. 3 years ago, it was stolen in Dallas, Texas, along with $180,000 worth of equipment. I worked 3 years locating each and every piece and putting it back in the condition that it's in now in our showrooms, and had it retrieved by the FBI.
Does it still run?
It still runs.
That's a good story. And later on, if you don't mind, would you show us around the plant here?
I certainly will. Be glad to.
Let's go back to more racing.
Well, Ed, we came here to Eldora Speedway to cover the World of Outlaws sprint car racing. But it looks like the management has a special treat for us. Some strange-looking, full-bodied race cars out on the half mile. I don't think we can resist having a look at this when we come back.
The world's fastest half-mile dirt track, Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio, where we've just seen the World of Outlaws and some sprint car action. But now, for a little change of pace. The late models are on the racetrack for their pace lap, coming out to run their big feature event of the afternoon. This is a different kind of racing, not sprint cars, not exactly stock cars either. Earlier, Steve Evans had a chance to look at one of these automobiles.
There are other classes of competition here at Eldora today. Actually, we came here only for the coverage of the Outlaw sprint cars. But when we saw these low, sleek babies, well, you know us, we just couldn't resist. They call them late model stocks, but that must have been years and years ago because they have evolved into anything but stock. It's really almost a sprint car with a body on it, and the driver tells me that there really are no rules. He said a few body rules, but I don't know where that'd be. If you take a look at the back of the car, the incredible air dams and ground effects and everything else you can imagine, and they put on quite a show, as you're going to see.
Well, this is grassroots American racing at its best. You'll see what they call late model stock cars all over the United States, and the rules tend to vary a great deal. These particular automobiles, for the most part, began life as Camaros, but now they've had great long tails put on them, as Steve said, big air dams and wings, ground effects even, that will hold the race cars down on the track, much like the wings do on the sprinters. But these automobiles are supposed to resemble stock cars, but boy, you really have to take a look at them pretty hard to remember that they ever began life as anything else than these wedge-shaped kind of flying doorstops, Steve.
Well, the philosophy here, Brock, seems to be more is better. They've actually got as much wing on them as the sprint cars do. I mean, instead of being over the roll cage, it's kind of grafted into the aft section of the automobile. The engines are primarily the 350 style small block Chevrolets, running on gasoline here with carburetors instead of fuel injectors and alcohol as the sprinters do. It'd be interesting, Brock, if you could take a census of how many race cars of this type or amateur circle track automobiles there are in this country.
I would venture to say there are probably 30, 40,000 of them. You counted them all up as the green flag comes out for this 30-lap feature. These guys have got 15 miles of hard running around here to undergo. A lot of them through the corner side by side, just like the sprinters.
Bill Hahn is the leader in car number 49, and if you watch what's going on out there, you can tell that this is the first time these drivers have ever attacked Rossburg, Ohio, and Eldora.
Well, it's a totally different kind of racetrack. These automobiles are pretty much set up to run on flatter half miles, and the high banks here at Eldora are going to take a little bit of time to figure out. As we can see, everybody is pointing in a lot of different directions as they kind of slide through the corner, but believe it or not, they're doing a good job.
Well, Bill Hahn has adapted quickly. In the black car number 49, he's got the lead. John Gill, car number 75, has moved up from the middle of the pack to take over second spot.
Well, Steve, the guy to watch right now is that K1 Camaro down there, that white automobile. Just moved past number 22, Bobby Carnes, and is now putting a move on Ken McEldowney in that number 50 automobile. McEldowney, remember, started in the front row, but now he's fallen back to 5th place.
The quick way around the racetrack for these cars seems to be about the same as the sprinters. You see some of the cars getting up high, very close to the wall for that slingshot effect. Our leader, the black car number 49, Bill, oh, we got problems. That's car number 39, Rick Wren, who has spun, and it doesn't look like there's any major damage. So in fact, Rick's going to try to get back into it.
No damage apparently done other than perhaps to his ego, but the yellow flag out to slow the field down. So Rick Wren has himself a chance to resume racing without any damage to that number 39 automobile. Boy, it's a miracle it didn't bend up something on that tail with all that sheet metal hanging out the back, Steve.
Well, the caution flag is going to allow the field to bunch up, and number 49, Bill Hahn here, the black car, is not going to enjoy quite the lead he had when once again we see the green.
Well, he was in good shape up until this particular point, but I'm sure that he's philosophical about it. It's pretty hard to run 30 laps in this kind of close competition and not have some kind of problem.
You know, Brock, you can't pull into a gas station anywhere around here, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and not see a race car in the back somewhere. I think there's more gas station owners out there than any other occupation.
This is racing country all across the Midwest. Literally from the Rockies right to the East Coast, you'll find thousands and thousands of people that are out either as fans or as car owners, drivers, and a lot of great drivers have come out of these circuits. So you can't really in any way discount some of these fellas. There may be a future Mario Andretti riding around out there right now. Bill Hahn, the leader, John Gill in second place, and Russ Petro in that K1 has moved into the 5th spot. We watched him earlier moving through the field.
And we're racing again, Brock, as they come out of turn number 4 already, standing on the gas at just a hint of that green flag. 49, Bill Hahn, trying to build up the lead that he enjoyed earlier, and we got a problem here. That is car number 50, Ken McEldowney, made contact with the wall, but the body appeared to absorb the shock, and he's back racing again.
Well, he got a little what they call push. The front wheels just weren't doing a lot of steering. He just kind of drove up against the wall. There goes the race for 7th place. Noel Witcher and Bobby Carnes in that yellow number 22. Witcher in that number 1 automobile. Good race between those two guys.
And our leader, number 49, Bill Hahn. Behind him is 75 Gill, about half a dozen car lengths behind him. So far, Hahn has just demonstrated a mastery of this track.
But right now, the guy to watch is K1 Russ Petro. He's moved past Matt Ghilardi and Dave Marco for third place, and now he's going to try to put a move on John Gill for second in that number 75 car.
Well, so far, Gill has been successful at holding him off. There's no rear view mirrors on these cars. You just kind of have to feel where that other guy is. If you see him, it's going to be too late.
Maybe feel a little tap in the old rear bumper, and then you know something's happened. As John Gill in that number 75 car gets it really sideways in turn 3 and 4 here at Eldora, but he knows that Russ Petro is right on his tail, so he's really hanging it all out here.
Petro has got him set up beautifully. If he makes the slightest mistake, Petro's going to try to get by him.
Petro looks like he's handling better because he hangs low.
There it is.
Yep. Well, in fact, John Gill is blown up. He's lost something there. Smoke coming out of the back of that automobile. He's got his hand out of the car, out of the window. He's going to wave himself into the pit. So John Gill, who ran himself a good, strong second in this race, is out. Unfortunate for him, but good news for Russ Petro, who now has himself a solid second place, and I'm sure is thinking about maybe nailing down first with Bill Hahn, the leader in that number 49 automobile.
Well, Hahn is closing in on some traffic in front of him, and that is going to be to Mr. Petro's advantage. It may very well tighten up our first and second place automobiles.
Well, you can see Bill Hahn is working hard. You can see his hands sawing on that steering wheel. So these cars are hard to handle.
Well, thanks in part to the traffic, the white car, K1 Russ Petro, is right on the bumper now of the leader, number 49, Bill Hahn.
Well, he's going to try to dive underneath him. Ooh! He did try. There's K1 Petro. Put a little bit of a move on Bill Hahn for the lead and lost as Hahn squeezes on through and holds that lead. But boy, Petro had a close call, but he's in the race. Hahn leads it.
And there's plenty of laps, really, for Russ Petro to try to make up for that miscue as 49 Bill Hahn leads the late model stock action. Anything can happen. Late model stock car action continues here at Eldora Speedway as the World of Outlaws sprint car crews are putting the finishing touches on their machines for the action to come. But right now at the midpoint in this 30-lap race, Bill Hahn continues to lead as he has from the green flag in car number 49. However, Russ Petro in car number K1 has made up some of that time he lost in a broadside on the back straight. And speaking of slides, we've got one up against the wall.
Well, it's Bobby Carnes at number 22. He and Dave Marco and Matt Ghilardi have been fighting it out for third place all afternoon as Carnes almost gets it up against the fence again. In the meantime, in the lead, Bill Hahn in that number 49 car just weaves his way through traffic. The car seems to work very well both high and low on this racetrack, Steve, and of course that's a secret to getting around here quickly.
Well, even though he's got a good lead, it's still quite a challenge trying to weave your way through this traffic and stay out of trouble. In fact, we got a terrific racer for third spot, and it looks like, yes, Matt Ghilardi gets around Dave Marco and takes the third spot.
Got by him in really convincing fashion, too, as we see car 50, Ken McEldowney up there high in turn 4. He's got some problems. This man doesn't. Bill Hahn, strong leader, Steve.
Well, Ken McEldowney, car number 50's problems have brought out the yellow flag. You know, building and maintaining one of these high bank dirt ovals is not just as easy as opening the gate and selling tickets. It takes a very special breed of man. And here in Ohio, that man is the one they call the Earl of Eldora, Earl Baltus. While the yellow is out, Brock is down in the pit area, and he'll have a chance to chat with Earl about the World of Outlaws and the Eldora track.
Would you like to have the Outlaws come here?
Best outfit in the world right there. They're the finest drivers in the world. Of course, they all drive here at USAC, and a lot of the late model drivers. We have the World's 100 up here, and they're just the greatest. These are the best drivers there are. When it comes to sprint car racing, they can't be beat.
Earl, seriously, you know, they say this is the best dirt track in the world. Did you set out were you trying to make it the fastest, best dirt track, or was it just an accident?
I'd say so. First we had just a quarter-mile track, then we built it to a 3/8, and then we built it this track here today. Had to build it 3 times to get it like this. I wouldn't change it no more, though.
What did you pattern it after anything, or did you? What made you decide to make it nice and high bank like this?
Well, from the experience of the first track, we had a good quarter-mile track, and then we changed it to a 3/8. We didn't have that quite right, and it just didn't seem like there's enough bank on it. So I kept running around there. I tried a couple cars out myself. Never made a good race driver, but made a good racetrack. Yes, it's one of the best. It's a popular track, and we really like it here.
You got it right. Hell, let me. What does Eldora mean?
Well, years ago when I bought this place, there was an old lady owned it, and her name was Shoes. And the place was called Shoes. Had a dance hall here, broken down dance hall. Oh, they had some real riots in this place, you know. So I bought it, and before we could get it to go, and we had to change the name. So we set out several letters and had a dance band at that time. Had a lot of guys giving me different names for it. We was going to change it. And then one day I was cleaning up in there, and I found a little wood shingle in there that said Eldora on it. So I went and asked that old lady, I says, where did you get this, where'd this come from? She said, well, my husband and I, they were German people and came over from Germany. She said, that was the name of the place. And I said, why did they call it shoes? She said, it's because of our names. So I said, he says, here, you named it that in the first place. I said, yes. So we're still going to change it. And I looked it up in the dictionary, and I ain't a man not to run away from taking any money. You know, I like to make money. I read that in the dictionary where Eldora is a Spanish name, and it means riches and diamonds and all that stuff. And hell, man, we ain't gonna change that name. We kept it.
Well, best of luck. Thanks for having us here in the World of Outlaws, and Eldora Speedway is one of our favorites, and I hope you make a million. Keep on doing it.
Well, I'll tell you real truth. You're about the finest group of people come in here. We had a lot of television groups come in here and televise. You guys seem to be about the best. We really love you.
Thanks, Earl. We're having fun.
Thank you.
What a character. Most race promoters would have thrown in the towel this morning when a monster thunderstorm hit, but not Earl. He wrung all the water out of the track so that number 49, Bill Hahn, can continue to lead this late model stock car race. And Brock, we've only got a few laps to go. We're back under green as Bill Hahn leads with K1, the white car of Russ Petro, in close pursuit.
Well, Petro's trying to get past the lap car there, Steve, and in fact has fallen back a few feet, but he got up next to Hahn earlier in the going, remember, and then they bounced off each other, and Petro got the worst of that encounter. So Hahn's got himself a little bit of a lead, but we can see Petro in that white K1 move past that lap car, and he's got his sights on Bill Hahn. Whether or not he can run him down with only a few laps remaining in this race is another question. Hahn has to really run into some traffic and maybe get balked a little bit, slowed down for Petro to really have a chance, because on an open track like this, it looks as if Hahn has enough horsepower to handle him.
Well, even with all that going for him, he's got to maintain his concentration. It's a very tricky racetrack. You're broad sliding through virtually every turn. If you make the slightest mistake with the steering wheel or the throttle, that car can spin on you so fast. It looks like Petro is starting to close it up just a bit. Indeed he is.
He sure is, Steve, and the white flag is out. This is the last lap. Petro is going to try to go high, then slingshot down off the banking and get underneath him to take the victory. Ooh, Petro got a little sideways there, lost some time. That may have ended his chances for winning, because Hahn just runs like he's on rails, down the front straightaway. There's the checkered flag. Bill Hahn wins it. Petro can't make up that distance. He must be wondering about that bad move he made early in the race when he got up alongside. They touched and he fell back and never made the distance up again. So Bill Hahn's the winner here.
Well, nothing more satisfying for a race car driver than a flag-to-flag victory such as Bill Hahn enjoyed today, but he got pressure just about the entire race from Russ Petro. Sprint car action coming up, but first let's rejoin Ed Bruce at Gambler Chassis.
This is a very important area here at Gambler Chassis. This is the inventory parts room. Very impressive too, CK.
Thank you, Ed. We mass produce our cars and our inventory here at Gambler Chassis to make the parts more readily available to our racers.
Sounds kind of like Henry Ford's production line.
Similar, yeah. What you see here represents $1 million worth of inventory.
$1 million, but the cars aren't all the same, though, are they?
The cars are we kind of do like you do the women. We tailor-made the cars to the drivers.
You talking about physically? The cockpits?
The cockpits and steering gear apparatus, the seats, that type thing.
What else do you do here, CK?
We build complete cars here, Ed. We build a car from baking on the paint, installing the motor. We can actually fire them here in our facilities, and the drivers take them right to the racetracks and race them.
Sounds great, CK. And speaking of ready to race, let's go back to more action at Eldora.
Thanks, Ed. And as Bill Hahn climbs out of his car, Steve Evans is with him.
Well, as you might imagine, Bill Hahn getting a big congratulations from all of his crew and also from us. A nice drive. You made it look easy, though.
Thank you. We had a hard day getting it set up, but we finally got the job done.
What is the correct title for this type of racing vehicle?
Well, it's a late model, I guess.
Sure it is.
Super late model. That's all I can say about it.
A sprint car with a body on it.
That's about the size of it.
Well, congratulations. And you guys, be proud of yourselves. You put on a heck of a show.
Thank you.
Well, they love their late model stock cars here in the Midwest, but now a gang of outlaws are strapped in their race cars, ready for more World of Outlaw action here at Eldora.
Consolation race. It's really more important than the name might indicate because the top 6 racers here will go into the feature, the big money race of the day.
And on the outside pole is Charlie Fisher in a brand new car. Now you can be sure that Charlie and his crew are doing a lot of guessing about tire and chassis setups. But in fact, everybody in sprint car racing has to deal with tires as kind of a black art. It's unlike other kinds of racing because of the dirt track surfaces and the constantly changing surfaces. Everybody guesses about tires all the time. People try all different kinds of combinations. They try to cut their own tires. They clean the grooves out on the tires before the races. They cut grooves individually in their own tires. And earlier in the going, Steve Evans had a chance to talk with a guy who knows a great deal about tire technology in sprint car racing.
In few forms of racing is the tire technology any more complex than it is in the World of Outlaws, mainly because we're dealing with an unknown quantity, and that's the dirt, which is constantly changing. In fact, it's so confusing, I've enlisted the aid of Bob Nelson, a tire engineer for Goodyear. And Bob, essentially, we've got 3 different size tires on a sprinter.
Right. The big tire here is basically the tire that's running the right rear of the sprint car. The middle one here is one of the left rear sizes. They run anywhere from 28 inches tall up to 98 or 30 and a half inches tall. And then on the far left here is a front tire. This runs on the right front and the left front.
All right, now there are different tread designs as well.
On the rear tires you have one tread design, and on the fronts they groove themselves.
So no matter how hard you work on designing tires, the racers are going to change them if they don't like them.
Right.
Now there's some tools to your trade, such as this instrument you have in your hand. It's a durometer.
Right. This will measure the hardness of the rubber, and that's important to the racer to determine what compound to run with a certain track condition.
It's interesting that a lot of the tire technology today came from drag racing. These big pumper rear tires actually started out as drag slicks. Now they developed their own kind of tires for sprint car racing, but the original big rear tires were drag racing tires. And in fact, even today, they're running very low pressures, much like the dragsters, sometimes as low as 4 and 5 pounds in the rear tires.
And the biggest bill a car owner faces, Brock, is his tire bill at the end of the year when you add it all up. So the consolation, as we mentioned, the top 6 will go to the main event, a little over half of the field. The other half are going to be spectators.
A lot of these guys are young drivers just starting out, as we said earlier, but there's one major name in here. Number 18, Doug Wolfgang, who's one of the really, really successful stars in World of Outlaw competition, as we said earlier, but he had problems in the first heat, did not finish, so he gets a chance to have another try at the feature, but he's got to run the consolation. A little bit of a come down for a star like Wolfgang to be in here with the less experienced drivers and some of the new guys and slower automobiles. So you can be sure that number 18, sitting there right now on the outside, that yellow car, he's going to make a run for the lead as the green flag comes down.
The green flag is out, and they're racing into turn 1. Here at Eldora, the World of Outlaws consolation. Greg Staub, the orange car, out front. Wolfgang back in the number 5 spot and anxious to move up.
Well, he's trying to get by Charlie Fisher in that brand new blue and white number 5. Interesting that Fisher seems to be holding him off at this particular point. That's kind of a surprise. I thought maybe Wolfgang would be able to just flat out run toward the lead with in this gang of cars, but not so. Maybe Doug's having more problems with that car than we realized. Charlie Fisher at this point is holding him off. And one would expect that a very experienced driver like Wolfgang with a very, very well-developed automobile. Looks like we've got a caution out here, Steve.
Brock, we've got car number 5, Skylar Hinkle, who is stalled right in the middle of the racetrack. There was no possible way other than to bring out the caution and slow these cars. So Skylar's still strapped in, and the emergency crew anxious to go out and help him once the traffic all gets by.
Well, these cars don't have self-starters in them, so they're going to have to get the car pushed down into a position where one of the push cars can come out.
Well, that man is not doing a dance there. He's trying to take the strain off the drivetrain so that Skylar can get the in and out box into the neutral position.
Well, he's going to have to wait for a push car to come around here. These cars do not have starters. It's a tradition in sprint car racing. Nobody can ever figure out quite why they don't, except they don't want them. And I guess if you're an outlaw, if you don't want a self-starter, you don't get a self-starter.
Well, Doug Wolfgang cruising around under the yellow flag in the middle of the pack. We've talked so much about track conditions. Just before the start of this race, Brock asked Wolfgang about the unique circumstances today.
Does it get to be a one-track, one-groove racetrack then?
Oh, I guess in a way it's kind of like running a Daytona here more than anywhere in a sprint car, because if you're lined up here and you're running next to the top around the fence, and that's where the highest bank is, you can keep your speed up. But you can cut across the track and get in front of a guy, but you lose your speed for a little bit, and you got to get clean by him, because if you don't get clean by him, you lose about half a straightaway getting straightened back out again. So it's kind of like drafting it. It's not a draft, but I mean, you're lined up here, and then when you get ready to do it, you got to do it, and if you don't, you lose your position. So that's where it's at.
This will be the final lap. Under caution will be under green in just a moment, with Greg Staub leading in car number 44X, Dave Fisher in the second spot, car number 9. And where's Wolfgang? Well, he's back in number 4 in the yellow car number 18. It will be interesting to watch here, Brock, and see if Wolfgang uses that very strategy he told us about.
Well, we're going to find out in a second, but as Greg Staub tries the high line, Dave Fisher ducks underneath him, comes down the front straightaway, takes the green and the lead. So we got a new leader in Dave Fisher. Greg Staub got snookered a little bit on that start, Steve.
Yes, he did, and that was exactly the kind of maneuver that Wolfgang was talking about. You're up close against the wall. You got to take the risk of diving down and losing speed. If you don't get around the man, you're in trouble. Wolfgang is yet to be able to use that. He's not close enough to anybody to get around him.
I think he's down on power. He's just not able. He's running high. Car looks like it's handling well, but Charlie Fisher in that brand new number 5 is holding him off, and that's a bit of a surprise as Dave Fisher holds the lead. By the way, they are unrelated.
But boy, there are a lot of brother acts in sprint car racing with the Kentzers and the Swindells and others. The driver's so busy in these race cars, Brock. Constantly there's things to do to maneuver that car. But it's not as physically demanding as it once was, thanks to power steering that came along a couple of years ago.
It really took some upper body strength to handle one of these things before power steering came in, but they still are physically very punishing automobiles. You're getting pounded around in there as we see Dave Fisher's holding on to the lead, and still Charlie Fisher and Greg Staub holding off Doug Wolfgang back there. Doug is trying. He, of course, has to stay in the top 6, let's remember, to get into that feature race. But I'm sure just simple racer's pride says, hey, I want to lead this thing. I want to win it.
Well, every time he gets close enough to number 44X, Greg Staub, Staub just accelerates away from him.
The car definitely, that number 18 car is just not working right. Now he finally ducked underneath Staub, takes over 3rd place, but he's still got the Fisher boys up ahead of him to contend with if he plans to win this thing. Charlie Fisher still back there in 2nd, but this man, Dave Fisher, and that number 9 sprinter holding on to a big, big lead at this point. He's going to have some mechanical problems, I would say, not to win this thing.
I got to agree with you. In fact, the first 4 places are pretty well set right now. But looking back in 5th, you see number 92, Harry Garrett, the white car, and number 62, Dwayne Lieber in the red machine, fighting it out for that 5th place spot. And remember, the top 6 go to the big race.
So that's the race that really counts right here, because everybody else is pretty well assured of getting into the feature, and Dave Fisher is pretty much assured of taking a victory here at Eldora, which has got to be kind of a feather in his cap.
You bet it will be, but he's got problems right now, Brock. Fisher dropping back a bit.
He did. He got down too low on the racetrack, almost spun it, bogged the engine down, got restarted without stalling it, but it was a mighty hairy moment for him. And who's to know, Charlie Fisher is coming up on him as we head for the checker.
But Charlie's just going to run out of racetrack here, Brock. Dave Fisher takes the checkered flag and wins the consolation.
And these two guys have been hammering on each other the whole race. Dwayne Lieber gets by Harry Garrett to take 5th place. Garrett does make the feature, however, in that 6th place finish.
So a happy Dave Fisher wins the consolation, followed by Charlie Fisher, Doug Wolfgang, and Greg Staub. We'll be back for the feature race of the day right after this.
This half-mile dirt track. Hi, I'm Brock Gates, along with Steve Evans and Ed Bruce, about to watch this young man and a gang of other outlaws shoot it out in the feature event here at Eldora.
It's been a sweet weekend so far for Brad Doty. He has consistently clocked some of the quickest lap times. But Doug Wolfgang has been plagued with just minor mechanical problems. He hopes the crew has got those worked out. With Brad Doty now on the outside of the 3rd row is Brock.
Brad, you all hooked up, ready to go?
Oh, I hope so. Car felt good in the heat race. Like I said, we'll see what happens.
How about it's getting a little cooler? racetrack's changing a little bit. Is it going to change your style?
Well, I'm hoping that the sun comes back out a little bit. I think the blacker it gets, the better off we're going to be, and get the temperature up in the racetrack from the sun. So I'm hoping these clouds just roll over before we get started here.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
And now let's go to Steve with the Wolf on the inside of the third row.
All right, as Doug Wolfgang gets on the arm restraint straps. Doug, what's the best groove as far as you're concerned for this car?
It feels like it's right in the middle of the racetrack here today, but most of the time it's right around the top. But in B-Main, I went down in the middle, and I got a lot faster right there, so I'll probably run the middle for a while.
Okay, a lot of money on the line here in the big feature. What, $5,000 or so?
$6,000.
Go get it.
Thank you.
Up to the second row, and Brock.
Ronnie, you got a couple of quick guys up front, but you're starting on the outside. Are you liking that?
Yeah, I think we're starting okay. I'd like to be outside front row, but you know, we're close enough. Like I said, if we're fast, we'll be there to the end, hopefully.
How about it's cooling off a little bit, getting late in the day? Is the racetrack going to change that much from running earlier?
Well, I think before, when the sun was out, we were getting a little bit of rubber down, and then the promoter went and put water on the track to take the rubber off anyway, so I don't know what the track's going to do.
Going to find out quick enough. Good luck.
Thank you.
And now let's go to Steve with the winningest driver in outlaw history.
Steve, you had it your way in the preliminary races yesterday. What about now?
Well, about 30 laps will tell you what happens.
Some guys say they're going to take a high line, others a low line, a middle. It seems to be three grooves.
Well, the track's got a little rubber down on it, so you can run a little bit all over it. So that's all you're going to do is search around and find where the fast spots are, and that's hope you can get in it, and get the car hooked up, and everything comes out right.
As far as strategy is concerned, do you let the field kind of spread out a little bit, or do you try to go to the front immediately?
Well, it just depends on what your car does and what the people in front of you is doing, and what kind of openings they are, and just have to take it as it comes.
Okay, it's time to climb in. Good luck.
Thank you.
On the outside of the front row with Brock is the current outlaw world champion, Sammy Swindell.
Thanks, Steve. Sam, it's cooled off a little bit. You didn't get a whole lot of running in all afternoon. Does that change your tactics at all?
Well, we've had some problems. We hadn't got the car going quite like we like it, and we've made some more changes, and hope we'll be okay. We just have to wait for the race to start and see if we've done the right thing or not.
There's nothing you can do on the pace lap, is there? I mean, you can't jump into the pits and make any last-second changes, or you just got to take what you're trying right now?
Yeah, we have to just go out the way we've got it. You know, if we're right, we'll be okay. If we're not, we'll be, somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right. Thanks, Sammy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
One of the great guys in this business from Bartlett, Tennessee, the pride of Tennessee, Sammy Swindell, his younger brother in the back of the field, Jeff, also a comer in this league. Now let's go to Steve with Shane Carson on the pole.
Big round of applause for you, Shane, in the introductions. They like this car from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's pretty kind of flashy looking.
Okay. Tell us about the arm restraints here. How long have they been around?
Yeah, they've been up for the last 3 or 4 years. Everybody's been using them quite a bit, and they tie this piece right here down into your seat belt.
Mm-hmm.
So if your arms get loose from the steering wheel, they, protect your arms pretty well, and it's just a safety feature that we've, incorporated.
If you could write the script for this race, how would it go from the green flag as far as what you plan to do with Swindell on the other side?
Well, just starting in first and just hold my position.
High, low, where?
We'll probably be right in the middle today.
Okay, go get him.
Thank you.
Brock?
And aboard, Shane Carson scrambles into that Sprinter. Going to hook himself into about 5 different kinds of seat belts over his shoulders, around his lap. As we see the field lined up here, Carson on the pole, Sammy Swindell outside pole, Steve Kinzer and Ron Schumann in the second row, and Doug Wolfgang and Brad Doty. 6 very fast cars up front. Row 4, the 2 heat winners, Howdenchild and Fisher. Then Jack Hewitt and Danny Smith, 2 fine sprint car drivers. Pennsylvanian Keith Kaufman, Jeff Swindell, Sammy's brother, Randy Kinzer, Steve's younger brother, along with Charlie Fisher in that new car. Greg Staub, Tim G from Alberta, Canada. And so it goes back through the field. Some of the younger drivers in the back here trying to move up on those Outlaws in this 30-lap feature here at Eldora, Steve. It's going to be a shootout. Oh, you bet it will be. And look at this, Brock. Sammy Swindell just got the answer to his question. Have they guessed right? Doesn't appear that they did. This is the second time today that the number 1, the world champion, has spun out here at Eldora. Boy, what a surprise.
Whoa! That was Steve Kinzer that came along and grazed the right rear tire of Swindell's car. That could be big trouble for young Sam as he sits waiting for the crew to come out and give him a push. We'll be back for the start of the feature after this.
We've got some strange things going on prior to the start of the main event. First, Sammy Swindell spins on the warm-up lap, and then this happens. Steve Kinser nicks the right rear wheel of Swindell's car. Let's look at it again. Steve Kinser also warming up prior to the start. Comes off turn 2 and just nicks Swindell's stopped automobile. Sammy's in the pits. They've looked at the car. Everything appears to be all right, but big news. Kinser's car wasn't as fortunate. It was damaged. Steve's in the pits with that automobile.
So Steve Kinser, Brock has dead stick car number 11 into the pits, not even his own pit actually. His crew had to run down here with the necessary tools. As you can see, they're prying the wheel disc off. So apparently he bent something in the differential or suspension area, and Kinser is just fuming inside that helmet. The winningest outlaw of them all is concerned right now that he may not even see that green flag when it drops for the $6,000 feature race.
Well, he's got a bit of a break, Steve, because there's a little bit of ceremony that goes on prior to a World of Outlaws race at the main event. They will form up in rows of 4 so that they're going to come around here, salute the crowd a couple of times, and do some maneuvers, which is important to Steve Kinser because it's going to give him some extra time to let his crew tear that rear end apart and see if they can get that broken part repaired. So as the field circulates, let's go to Steve for a late report.
All right, the wing nut going on, or coming off actually, is the cars continue to circle the track. Kinser staying in the vehicle. A push truck is standing by to bump start the car if indeed they can get it fixed. Difficult for us to see exactly what they're working on, but it is either in the suspension or the rear end.
Well, that's a tough break for Kinser, but he's still alive, theoretically, because as long as he can get back on the racetrack before the green flag drops, he's going to be in the hunt. But the more these cars circulate under this, with this ceremonial business of 4 cars, that's the World of Outlaws trademark before they start the feature race. Very picturesque under normal circumstances, but you can be sure that Steve Kinser is really hot because now they're breaking out back into that 2x2 formation, and Steve Kinser is boiling in the pits.
Well, I can assure you, Brock, down here, no one is about to give up. Kinser wisely staying in the car. If he got out to try to help, it would only consume more time buckling him back in. As I said, a push truck is standing by, and we can tell you for sure it is in the suspension area. So the punishment for the contact with Swindell has damaged a part.
Well, Swindell, as you can see, is on the outside of the front row, so he's theoretically in good shape. We don't know. Maybe he bent something, too. Maybe he's going to try to just guts it out. But in any case, we are heading toward the start of this 30-lap feature event here at Eldora. The cars doubled up, 2x2, coming down into turn 3 off the back straightaway. Now, throttles down, the hammer's down. Everybody's flying toward the green.
And the only one not enjoying the start of this feature is this man, Steve Kinser.
He is sore, and rightfully so, because the man that he had the collision with is now leading the race. Sammy Swindell in that red number 1 car, but Ronnie Schumann challenges in that orange 21 as they head down the front straightaway to complete lap 1.
Well, so far, Swindell's car appears to be handling fine, but does he have enough power to hold off Ronnie Schumann? It doesn't look like it. Schumann's going to try him high. Schumann up against the wall. Now he moves down low, the more traditional way to pass on this racetrack. So Schumann has got the power to get around Swindell if he can find the room.
Swindell running right in the middle of the racetrack, giving Schumann no room, but Schumann bulls his way through on the outside. Yes, he gets by as they head down the back straightaway. Schumann now in the lead. He thought that he could get the lead if he got an even break here. The car's been handling beautifully all day, so Ronnie Schumann has himself the lead in this feature event. But now, the yellow's out. We've got a spun car up against the fence in turn 1. That's Mark Slade in car number 72X. So there's a little hold up here in the festivities, and that could be a big break for the man in the pits in car number 11. Let's go to Steve Evans for an update on the Kinser situation.
All right, here we see laying on the pavement next to the crewman's knee what they call a Heim joint, which is part of the rear suspension. And you can see the shaft is broken off of one of those Heim joints. So it took an awful lot of time to get it back together. Kinser's still sitting in his car watching the Outlaws circle under the caution flag, so he's not losing that much time. And here comes a push truck, and everybody better stand back because Steve Kenser is going in.
Going in he is with his right foot buried. This man can be the fastest ever in sprint cars. Watch out how he runs now. He's coming, and we'll be back with more from Eldora after this.
Fast-moving adventure, courage, romance. Enter the...
And here is number 1, Sammy Swindell, leading the pack in the feature race of the afternoon at Eldora Speedway.
Well, we saw Ronnie Schumann take that lead, what appeared to be the lead, but actually it happened when the yellow flag had come out, so they replaced Swindell back in the front as the green is out again. So Sammy Swindell leads it, but Ronnie Schumann is right on his tail.
And here's the race for 6th place. That is Keith Kaufman in car number 75, right alongside the Doug Wolfgang in 18.
The Wolf just hasn't had it hooked up today. He's not really been in contention. But there, Swindell seems to be able to hold off Schumann. But Schumann, again, trying that same move that he tried just before the caution came out, trying that high line to get between Swindell and the fence. It doesn't work. Now he's going to work him down low a little bit. Back there in 3rd place, let's not forget that's Brad Doty. Doty is right in the hunt with them all.
Well, Schumann has proved that he can indeed get her by Swindell. Oh, Sammy Swindell has spun again coming off at turn number 2. That's the 2nd time today. So Swindell again, dead in the water, spun. His combination just not right.
Almost exactly the same spot that he lost it during warm-ups. Let's look at it again. Swindell looks like he's plenty under control. Schumann way up against the fence, trying to get by him on the outside, and Sammy just flat loses the handle. Around he comes. He's so good, though, he doesn't really lose control of the car completely. He gets on the brakes and just brings it to a halt, but boy, it's got to make him sore. That's the 3rd spin of the day for Swindell. So he won't do that in a whole season normally. There must be some kind of a handling problem with the automobile.
Well, Swindell gets an idea of how Steve Kenser felt in his frustration. Now Ronnie Schumann inherits the lead in car number 21X with the youngster Brad Doty from Pennsylvania behind him on the outside.
Shane Carson has moved up into 3rd place, and Doug Wolfgang now has the 4th spot.
And Keith Kaufman, who is not a traveling outlaw, sticks pretty close to his home base in Pennsylvania. Look at him thunder on the outside there, goes around Doug Wolfgang and Jack Howdenchild to pick up 4th spot.
Well, Howdenchild nailed Wolfgang as he went by him, so that was a close call for Howdenchild. He almost got it sideways. Doug had to get things gathered up after Howdenchild went by, so a good race back there as Wolfgang sets out to make up that distance on Howdenchild and Kaufman. You can be sure that he's plenty sore about that move.
On no other racetrack did they go quite this fast. A little over 120 miles an hour, and you can always count a lot of action anywhere in the pack. Out in front, the orange car of Ron Schumann, Ron from Mesa, Arizona. Behind him, the youngster, the most improved driver last year, Brad Doty.
And Steve Doty is gnawing away at Schumann's lead little by little as they circulate this beautiful half mile.
Well, it's payback time here for Keith Kaufman. He's getting, look at Wolfgang. Just the maneuver he said he would do. He gets Howdenchild and Keith Kaufman in one fell stroke on the inside. Beautiful.
Unbelievable move. Of course, that's the kind of driving you expect from the Wolf. He's one of the very best. But now, here comes Doty. Doty got underneath Ronnie Schumann. Schumann got up against the fence a little bit too much. Now he's coming back at him down low, but Doty holds it down off of turn 4. A new leader, the kid from Pennsylvania.
And an incredible duel for the 5th spot. Keith Kaufman and Jack Howdenchild. Howdenchild in car number 4, running 6th, trying to get 5th.
And the leader, Brad Doty, now getting up into some traffic. So this may be a chance for Schumann to make up some of that distance, but he seems to be running away from Schumann at this particular point. Doty out front, alone, running into lap cars, but not having any problem at all. That car is really what they call in this kind of racing hooked up, Steve. It just has got traction all over the racetrack, plenty of power, and bunch of problems for everybody that's going to try to catch him.
And Doug Wolfgang has now got the 12 car, that's Shane Carson, in his gun sights. Wolfgang running 4th. He wants the 3rd place away from Carson. There's a race everywhere you look, Brock.
It sure is, except right now, this man has himself a clear lead. Brad Doty from Kittening, Pennsylvania. The most improved driver on the World of Outlaws circuit last year, as you said. Boy, he looks like a real veteran right now. No problem. Look how smooth he is through that corner. not a whole lot of sideways driving.
Brock, we have some problems for Keith Kaufman. His car is starting to smoke, and smoke pretty badly. He's just standing on the gas, unaware of it totally.
Well, you can see he's rubbing his face mask there, so he's probably picking up some oil. Yes, he's blown the engine now. He must have gotten lost oil. Engine overheated now, but you know, he's not slowing down.
There can't be any oil left in that motor. It's got to seize.
And in the meantime, this man, the car number 1, Sammy Swindell, makes up distance. He's back in 5th place, but he's driving hard. And behind him, in that white number 11, is Steve Kinzer. He's a couple of laps down, but boy, you'd think he was fighting for the lead. And who's to know how much distance he can make up before it's over, Steve? He's still got a chance.
Oh, these guys, they just never give up. It's just not in their makeup. But I tell you, with a comfortable lead out front is Brad Doty. As Ron Schumann in the 21X car has fallen back even further. So here is Brad Doty encountering some traffic and just trying to keep his cool. Looking at this young man's abilities, Brock, it's hard to believe he's only been doing this 5 years. In fact, this is the last lap. He is 3 corners away from a $6,000 payday.
Well, he's not going to make any mistakes now if he can help it. He's got to get through some of this traffic, but he'll be very, very cautious. In fact, he's going to let him just sit there. He's got a little space, so he comes down, takes the checkered flag. He's the winner here. 30 hard laps at Eldora. Shane Carson second.
Boy, did the Outlaws live up to their reputation here at Eldora today. They really are one of the most exciting breeds of oval track racing equipment anywhere in the world today. We'll be back to talk with Brad Doty after this.
Door for this young man, Brad Doty, the kid from Pennsylvania. He rolls into victory lane, but in the meantime, Steve Evans has found the second place finisher, Shane Carson.
Right, well, you're looking at maybe part of the reason why Shane Carson had to finish second instead of maybe taking the checker. Shane, there is nothing left of these tires.
Yeah, we was trying a softer compound than we should have, and looked like we paid the price. I didn't look at Brad's tire yet, but as you can see, both ours are down to the cord, basically.
I understand he had a backup engine in as well.
Yeah, our good engine is a 426. We blew it up yesterday, and this is all we had left. It's a 388, but the way the track was today, I'd figured that, you know, a smaller engine would be enough, but as it turned out, it got a lot of rubber down, and the lap times were right back where they were when the track was tacky. So we was kind of bogging all the way around, but it worked out good for us.
Well, second pays a lot better than third or fourth, so congratulations. It'll be a good payday for the man from Oklahoma City. Nice race.
Thank you.
Well, a little disappointment on the face of Shane Carson, but you won't find that in the winner's circle. Brock's with Brad Doty.
Okay, in victory lane, Brad Doty. Super job, Brad. Jump out of the car. We'll talk a little bit. Okay. Jumped underneath Ronnie Schumann on between 1 and 2. Were you waiting? Did you have him set up? Did you think you could get him, or did he just get wide on you?
Well, you never really know for sure, but I knew we were getting faster. The more, like I said earlier, the more rubber got down, the faster we were going to go. And that's what happened. I could tell that we were steadily getting faster and faster. We had a load of fuel in the car, and when it gets out, you know, the car gets faster. It gets a little loose with all that fuel in there. I knew we were going to get faster and just waited and hoped I didn't mess up.
Our congratulations to all the Outlaws today for a great show. For Ed Bruce and Brock Yates, this is Steve Evans saying so long from Rossburg, Ohio, and Eldora Speedway.
The executive producer of American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by Kawasaki. The Kawasaki KLT 200 is the three-wheeler perfectly suited to both weekend fun and weekday work. It features a 4-stroke engine, electric starter, and a 5-speed transmission. The KLT 200 from Kawasaki keeps the good times rolling.